Now, it's true that on the surface, remaking Psycho, arguably one of the most iconic horror films in history, sounds like the worst idea since giving the working class the vote. Or making 3 cinematic sequels after Hitchcock had died. No, seriously, they did this, and I don't recommend any of them. I'll tell you about them sometime, though. But the idea itself isn't without merit. I mean, the same piece of art can be reinterpreted using different modern methods. For example, I've seen the Mona Lisa painted with paintballs. And if we just turn around and say you can only use each script once, then the RSC is going to seriously struggle to put on anything once the theatres reopen. But no, there's a video of 8 actors and His Royal Highness Prince Charles debating how to say to be or not to be, that is the question.
To be or not to be, that is the question.
And I've never heard anyone say that we should stop putting Shakespeare on. It would be nice to give him a breakdown and allow some other playwrights a chance to shine, but that's a debate for another time. What I'm trying to say is that in principle, I have absolutely no issue with remaking Psycho. Using the same script but different actors, time, shooting styles and a bid to modernise and recontextualise a modern classic. Hell, Hitchcock himself remade one of his own films, Man Who Knew Too Much, 1934, as The Man Who Knew Too Much in 1956. And this film had a blessing from Sir Alfred Hitchcock's daughter, Patricia Hitchcock O'Connell. Quite why she did that though, I have absolutely no idea, because this film commits the most cardinal, unforgivable sin of horror films. It isn't scary. Not at all. It gets mildly, slightly tense at some points, but that's about it. And look, I'm not going to compare this to the original. It's not fair, productive, or even very helpful. And it's not like this thing is, oh, I don't know, a shot-for-shot remake, meaning that pretty much the only difference is the actors and that the film is in colour now. Oh, it is a shot-for-shot remake, meaning that pretty much the only difference is the actors and that the film is in colour now? Why does this thing exist? Well, according to the director, Gus Van Sant, upon asking the director, Gus Van Sant, he replied, so no one else would have to. What? Fine, I'm just going to imagine he lost a poker bet and imagine that in another timeline, Michael Bay had to remake this film. Anyway, like I was saying 436 words in, I'm finally going to start reviewing this film as a film in its own right, because there's not really much to say about it. Yes, the twist at about a third of the way through stands up, but the big twist at the end just isn't scary in colour. And yes, the Psycho music is arguably one of the most iconic in cinematic history, but when you use it every 5 minutes, it kinda loses its effect. Less is more with iconic themes. Actually, cinematically speaking, less is more in general, but I get away from myself. The cast is fine. Vince Vaughn is actually a pretty good Norman Bates. William H. Macy is fantastic, of course, and everyone else is there. Of course, the story ties together nicely, and it looks very nice, but it's just not scary, and in a horror film, that is a sin I just cannot forgive. Even in the film's most iconic scene, I just didn't feel anything other than mild interest. And I know that I said I wasn't going to compare this film to the original, but Hitchcock made... I squeeze creams out of chocolate syrup! Since this film is a shot-for-shot remake, I can't really credit this film's achievements because they don't belong to this film. Mr. Van Sant, if you were going to remake this film, then remake it. If you're going to make it in the 90s, then make it in the 90s. Aside from a Walkman, this could have been set in the 60s, and frankly, you may as well have set it in the 1960s as you've copied so much else. And look, I hate the last scene of Psycho. Everyone hates the last scene of Psycho. It's universally regarded as one of the worst scenes Hitchcock ever did, and if you want to get rid of it, then go for it. The shortening of it works, but I'm not so sure about having the background music turn up so loud that I actually paused my film, checked there wasn't some random pop-up doing its thing in the background trying to get me to play something awful and full of viruses, but no, music in this scene was just so loud that I had to put subtitles on. I mean, in a way, I am glad this film exists because it shows that even if you remake a film exactly the same way as a master, then you don't become a master. Even with a solid cast and significantly larger budget, there's something more in making a film. More than sets and lighting and music and dialogue, something more. I like it. Look, Psycho is a film that seems confused as to why it exists. Remaking and updating a film, I have absolutely no issue with. Remaking a film shot for shot to show that you can, apparently is an experiment, that's what the director says anyway. An experiment to prove what? That you can stand up to Hitchcock? That you can remake films like a production line every 20 to 30 years or so? That cinema is broken enough to meekly accept cookie-cutter films meekly and without complaint? Well, I think that last one's been proven, but the rest still stand. Look, don't bother with this one when the original still exists. The original was a truly groundbreaking film, and this is literally an experiment which, if you really wanted to conduct, you should have made using an adjusted for inflation budget, not $60 million. As is, just skip it. But what do you guys think, and which film would you most like to see made again? Line for line, shot for shot. Comment below, let me know. I'm Daniel, it's been a donkey. If you've enjoyed this video, please like, share, and subscribe.